Well, as the great Shang Tsung said in the awesome 1995 Mortal Kombat live action film, it has begun. Again. Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the 3 Topics Gamer, and I finally am able to get my own personal review out for the latest installment in my favorite fighting game franchise of all time, Mortal Kombat. This one simply being titled Mortal Kombat 1. Now, I do again apologize for this review being a bit late, but I've just been really busy and for working 2 jobs. It makes it really hard to actually find time to play games, get everything down, script everything, film everything, edit it, and so I do apologize. But overall, just going into it, just some initial thoughts, I actually did really enjoy this game. So I think what I have to say might apply to most people who have played it up to this point and are enjoying it. So I just hope to add my own thoughts to it and see what you guys think. So if you do happen to enjoy this review by the end, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep track of me on my future videos. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into my review of Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat has been my favorite fighting game franchise for the longest time, and even though I was first exposed to this franchise as a kid back during the mid-90s, it really wasn't until Deadly Alliance on the PlayStation 2 that I really got invested into this franchise. With Mortal Kombat 1 being the 4th entry in this franchise coming to us during the NetherRealm era, the developers were looking to give us another semi-reboot of the franchise, giving us a completely new experience with a series of significant additions from the previous installment while maintaining the integrity and reputation that Mortal Kombat has been known for. And while I can officially confirm that Mortal Kombat 1 is another great installment that will satisfy not only longtime fans, but can easily serve as a great introduction to newcomers looking to experience the franchise for the first time, it is not entirely perfect, and for those that analyze this game far more in depth, will certainly discover flaws that may push them away. The main story for Mortal Kombat 1 takes place after the events of Mortal Kombat 11, and with Liu Kang having taken control of the Hourglass, he has reset the timeline and crafted a completely new era that is meant to be as balanced as possible. After a period of time, Liu Kang begins gathering fighters to take part in the next Mortal Kombat tournament, set to take place in Outworld, but it is during this tournament that Liu Kang is informed by his longtime ally Garrus that someone has begun tampering with Liu Kang's timeline, and it is up to him and his allies to discover who is interfering and prevent this new timeline from falling apart. While this game's plot isn't perfect, and it certainly has its fair share of moments of things not being fully explained or characters doing questionable actions, out of the 4 main Mortal Kombat titles that have come out since NetherRealm Studios was created, Mortal Kombat 1 has by far my favorite story to date. What I really enjoyed about this game's plot was how they were able to make certain story elements significantly different from their original telling by making them feel familiar yet fresh at the same time. Some examples being like how the rivalry between the Lin Kuei and the Xia Ryu was started, or how Mileena got her Takartan traits. Those story elements I really enjoyed. Another part of the story that I was actually quite impressed with was how much time was given to not only jobber characters that were usually simply inserted into games to be killed off, but they also did an incredible job showing real chemistry between characters, which created some great friendships and relationships between characters, with one of my favorites in this game being the dynamic started between Johnny Cage and Kenshi, which starts off with Kenshi breaking into Johnny's house at the beginning of the game and develops into the two of them almost becoming the best of friends by the end. Now, another thing I would like to add was one thing about this game story that I really enjoyed was the reintroduction of a lot of the 3D era characters. Now, as I stated earlier, I have been known of Mortal Kombat since the mid-90s, starting up until about, I'd say like Mortal Kombat 2. But it really wasn't until Deadly Alliance and Deception on the PlayStation 2 came out that was the era that I really started to get into this franchise. So a lot of these 3D era characters are the ones I was kind of most gravitated towards. And so to see them kind of return and be reintroduced was a very, very welcome addition to this new Mortal Kombat game. However, going into the story, I have to admit that, unfortunately for me, I did have the ending spoiled for me. And when I saw it out of context, I really did think it was one of the worst things I'd ever seen in any Mortal Kombat game in terms of the ending of or the last section. But then once I saw the game in its entirety and understood the context, I have to admit that while in concept this was a cool idea, especially building off of elements from Mortal Kombat 11, I think in execution there were a lot of problems. We're going into an element that I kind of figured in kind of the media sense was something we're starting to phase out, because we're starting to understand that taking a story in this direction starts creating a whole bunch of problems, and that very much is the case with, I'd say, like the last 2 to 3 chapters of this game's story. And they even introduced a little kind of secret ending, and I'm not even sure if that really works in terms of how things were set up until this point. There were just too many things and too many plot holes that weren't explained, that were just kind of confusing. And I think had they toned it down to where they were kind of leading off to, I think that the last few chapters and the ending of this particular Mortal Kombat story would have worked a little bit better, and I think would have made for a much more smoother ending, giving us a lot of potential for what we certainly get another Mortal Kombat game after this one. When it comes to Mortal Kombat 1's gameplay style, the fighting mechanics this time around have been completely revamped from the style of Mortal Kombat 11, with the most noticeable addition being the cameo assist with the connection to the 3-stage bar located at the bottom of every fighter. The cameo assist can be used to either break an opponent's combo, or can be used to throw in an extra attack to deal additional damage, or even can be used to extend your combo chain in order to deal a devastating amount of damage to your opponent. While finding the right character that fits the kind of combat style that you want to get good at is up to you, there is a good training mode that can help teach you and break down the fundamentals of how to get the best out of each character. My only complaint about this is that this mode does not allow you to display this series of combative attacks during practice mode, which can get really annoying when trying to test out a character, and this was a function that was present in Mortal Kombat 11, so I have no idea why they would take such a helpful function out of this game. And to build off this issue, having the ability to display at least the basic special attacks would have been really helpful during story mode, as every time I went to the next chapter and had to change characters just when I was getting used to the character I was using before, I would have to keep pausing the game in order to learn how each character worked, and this was an issue that's been present all the way back since Mortal Kombat 9. When you are done with the main story, there are also several gameplay modes that the players can experience. This includes the classic tower, which comes with a variation of different types of combative towers that you can choose from depending on how much of a challenge you're looking for, with the newest gameplay mode added to this game being called Invasion, which kind of resembles a game board map with some RPG elements thrown into this new gameplay mode. Invasion is spread out across multiple different maps, and the fights that you will encounter will include multiple different perks in order to make the fights themselves much more difficult as you progress. This mode is used to replace the traditional crypt, and as you progress through the game, you will actually gain access to different customizations that will allow you to change the appearance of your fighters. However, you will have to play through Invasion with each individual fighter in order to unlock each different customizations as you progress and level them up individually. As you play through both story and Invasion mode, you then can collect and can use currency that can also be used to purchase more customizations. However, this content is really more used to pick up artwork that you can actually view if you choose. When it comes to playing online against other players, my experience has actually been rather smooth. However, I have heard that the online mode was a bit closer to release, not the best experience, and had some problems. However, by the time of this review, I'm hopefully sure that they've been smoothened out by now. And when it comes to a lot of the gameplay elements, there's no mistaking that going several Mortal Kombat games back, Mortal Kombat has always had a few gameplay mechanics that have been not quite as smooth as in other fighting games. And I've seen in other videos that have kind of pointed out some of the mechanical issues with how the combat system in this game actually works, and kind of how it isn't quite as great as perhaps the developers had wanted it to be. But as someone who really only plays this game for fun, I personally didn't have an issue with some of these supposed problems, which are present even when they were shown to me, because I don't play this game competitively. I could certainly see that people who spend a lot of time with this game and want to play competitively, some of these issues may come up. But as someone for me who just wants to play this for fun, or play it online with just a couple of random people, or play it with some local friends, these are issues that will never really come up in my personal experience. And even after I'd seen them, I had just kind of immediately forgotten about them and just went back to playing the game again, and I was still having fun. And I think at the end of the day, as long as I'm not playing this game competitively, I do think that this game, even with its minor problems, is something that can be patched in the near future and certainly something that for me personally I was still having fun with, despite the fact that those issues have been present and kind of open the door to present future problems. But I just, for me personally, and I'm sure for the majority of people that picked up this game, I don't think it's really going to affect their overall experience in a too negative way. When it comes to the game design department, NetherRealm Studios has once again created the most visually stunning fighting game that I've seen to date. The character models for each fighters are so incredible, and the fight stages are just as impressive, with a couple of classic locations being redone and introducing new locations that has so much going on in the background that it creates an enjoyable environment to fight in. The signature fatalities that Mortal Kombat has been known for are just as gory and creative as always. The soundtrack might be pretty standard with no individual track standing out, but it does a good enough job to make the atmosphere of Mortal Kombat 1 provide work properly. During my playthrough, I encountered no mechanical errors or glitches of any kind, and I look forward to all the upcoming DLC content that is due to be released soon. Now, in conclusion, I really did enjoy playing Mortal Kombat 1, despite some elements not working out as well as I'm sure the developers had hoped. And I can say this is probably the most fun I've had playing Mortal Kombat games since I say Mortal Kombat 9. And I think I'm going to use this as my transitional game that I would go back to playing between the release of new games in the coming future, because this is certainly a game that I definitely want to spend a solid amount of time getting better at with a few characters in this game, because I do think that there is something to be said about focusing on getting some characters and just kind of spending a good amount of time and getting good at it. However, I can certainly understand why some players that play this professionally may not feel that way, and that's perfectly understandable. But again, this is still a game I had a lot of fun with, and I think if you are a Mortal Kombat fan, this is definitely something you would want to add to your collection, although some people might not think so. So overall, if I had to give Mortal Kombat 1 a rating, I think the best rating that I could give for this installment is an 8 out of 10. Great game, certainly well worth adding it to your library if you're a Mortal Kombat fan. However, if you want to play this game professionally, then you might want to wait till they patch out some of the minor issues. That way you might have a much smoother and better overall combat online experience. So those are my thoughts on Mortal Kombat 1. If you've played this or own this, what are your guys' thoughts? Share your thoughts with me and everyone else in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.